Finding Meaning Project. Dan Paulson here. Hey, it's been great to meet you and to look at your videos and to see what you're about and to kind of talk a little bit. We haven't really discussed much, but you know what? I've been doing this for a while and I've discovered something that I believe all of it really links. There's a way to look at it that there's one truth, no matter where you are in the world, there's one truth that's how that works. That's the name of my channel, Just One Truth. That it really is based on human psychology. And no matter where you are in the world, you're going to be living in human psychology. That's how we function. So that's what we're looking for. However, that it's going to be very difficult to see. Everyone else, my name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. This is a reach out in a way to show you something because I think you can comprehend this. There's a point where somebody has to understand the idea that we started out pure, that we lived life unaware, then that we woke up and decided, oh, I've got to rectify my life, and then we turn inward to do so. That right there is a pattern that we're going to find in material from antiquity. And right now, I want to show you the simplest one that I can find in Abrahamic material. It's in Genesis from chapter 3 to chapter 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Right there is a human life template. I want to show you what that is. Probably the easiest way to do it, though, is to stop and think about life to begin with, because this is what this template is going to reveal. So let's not even go to the template or to Genesis and try to read that and make sense out of it. Let's just talk about modern language, what life is like for a human. And we just look at our own life to do that. That we start out in life unaware, happy, supposedly happy, unaware children. And that as we live life, and at this time, we have our conscious, a subconscious, our inner self, and we're existing from that higher awareness. However, we don't have enough mental experience to know that. We're just existing as happy kids, kind of pure energy, so to speak. And I don't mean good energy. It could be good or bad, no matter what happens. Okay, so we go off then and we begin to judge life. We have life experiences. We become hurt, or we judge things in such a way that now we have negative memories and emotions that are being stored in our mind, that we're going to start accumulating things. And as a result of that, we're going to become covered metaphorically. That means spiritually. That means I've got something that I've got hidden. I've got parts of me that you can't see. I've got shame. I got anger. I got hatred. I've got something somehow that I don't want anybody to know. So that's covered up right there. We're not pure. We're not open. An open person has nothing to hide. When you have stuff to hide, you know that, and you can think about it, and you can feel it derogatory in your mind, and we don't know that derogatory emotion in us is causing our life flow. We just think we've got it tucked away. That's living our first lives. And okay, so what happens then? We lose that happy state, and then we're going to have everything that we've judged, we're going to have it continually cyclically appear. It's going to reoccur and hurt us over and over again. And we're going to live life from our conscious perspective, not fully aware of the benefits that we can have in life by being detached, by being something different than that product of our memories. But we become that product of our memories. We become a divided self. An awake side and a sleep side. Let's put it that way. But the sleep side takes over. We become divided. And about that time, we lose connection with the higher awareness. We're not even there anymore. We're just living life now going, what about this? What about that? I want this. I want that. All those things are happening now. We're beginning to live in a different kind of a mindset. Then we're going to go off and get jobs and learn trades and, whatever it is that we do, the things that we think are important, get our hair fixed up and wear the right clothes and do the right things to fit in and to be cool and all that until you get to that's at first. And then there's iterations of us as time goes by. Years go by. And boy, I went from this kind of a person to this kind of a person. When I was a little kid, I got caught stealing a bag of cookies in the grocery store. That was the little Danny Paulson that was bad. I'm not that Danny Paulson anymore. We continually move on. And that's just one example, going from jobs to place, career changes. All of those are iterations of life along the way that we're making blind to it. And at some point in time, we have become internally corrupted. It's like my life is just a shambles. What the heck? What am I going to do? We need to turn inward. We need to start looking and understanding that we're a product of our judgments and that we need to disconnect from them. But at this time in life, we've been living through our conscious and our subconscious. The higher awareness pops in from time to time, but we're not aware of it. We just let it go. We're living through our memories until we realize this is the real me. This higher awareness, detached from my memories, is who I really am. I need to get to here. I need to take my consciousness and reconnect, so to speak, mentally with my higher awareness. When we're talking in plain language about, at first you're asleep, and then it's time to awaken, this story right here that's it. This is your life. First you live asleep. Now it's time to awaken. But it's held in a way, it's thousands of years ago. Many people, many brains, no technology. The stories were it. And when that happens, I can then begin facing the hurt memories and healing and resolving them, looking back at how they happened, how I judged them, changing my judgments on them, which then changes my flow in life, that I affect a healing, and that in the other side of that healing, I create a new life. I feel better, and I'm uncovered, so to speak, from that. I've healed from it. I got molested. I hated that. I was never going to tell anybody. I told people now, you know what? Man, I can't believe I beat myself up that way. So right there, I've just had an experience where I've resolved something. Now, if we go to the Bible, I don't know if that sounds vaguely familiar or not. You start out as in the hierarchy, the mental hierarchy. God is the higher awareness. Adam is the consciousness. Eve becomes the inner self for each human. That's why Eve is subservient. Eve is a product of the way we've judged life experiences and hold them in our memory. And really, that's it. How we've judged and hold them in our memory. We can have bad things happen and feel bad about them, or we can have bad things have happened and be resolved from it. As long as we feel bad about it, that is residing up here, and it's continuing to cause a flow in life in a collective. There's a reason to change this stuff. That's a flow that we're in. Okay, so if we get into the Bible, what we see is Adam and Eve naked, unashamed in the garden. That's starting out in life. First sin represents going off and having that judgment. Now I become covered. And you're going to have repeating cycles of pain. Every time you have childbirth, it's going to be more painful. There's the pain cycles from the inner self, not from Eve, the woman, but metaphorically rotate it back up into here and go, Eve is an analogous representation of my inner self, and the offspring are the things that I've judged in life that are going to continue to emerge in pain. And my consciousness is going to go off, live unaware. You're going to go live life really without reaping its full benefits. That's Adam's punishment. We also see, next we've got the Cain and Abel division. And then what happens, that's the division of us. Every bit of this plays out in the psyche as aspects of who and what we are, iterations of us, and various parts of our mental hierarchy. So they become very thick. But if you understand that and you start putting the pieces in place, it's almost just like teaching yourself a language. It's what they've got going on in the background, apparently. Okay, so we become that Adam and Eve, or the Cain and Abel division. And what happens then is Cain leaves the presence of the Lord. Right there, we've left completely from our higher awareness. We're now going to go off and live life. We're going to, make brass and, tents, all that kind of stuff. Tubal Cain. There's a number of things going on that just signifies time goes by. And then Adam's lineage, this is just time progressing by, until we get down to chapter 6. And what happens, that's when the entire world needs to be destroyed. God reappears at that time. God's been gone the whole time. That's the higher awareness. We have been living disconnected from it. Noah represents ourselves, our conscious self, when we become the person that says, I'm a product of myself. That's the awakened self right there. That's the called person. That is you, as you are the one that turns inward. And we're the ones that realize that our world, that this metaphorical, that it's my world experience, not the physical world and everybody else's out there, but my world, how I view the world, how I live the world has become corrupted. And that, the corruption from the sons of God. That sounds very strange, but it fits perfectly. They've taken that out from the Bible. This chunk here is very old. They left a lot of Babylonian stuff in there. And I should be careful saying that and qualify it. Chapter 1 through 11, there's still hints of it being a polytheism. It's not a full-on monotheism until chapter 12 on. But at this point in time, what we have is, if you went to the Tao Te Ching on page 1, and there's a point where they talk about, free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestation. So this is the idea that if you're holding on to things, you're going to see them repeating. And if you let go of them, you're going to have the mystery of life. You're going to flow. Yet a little bit down farther, it says, yet mystery and manifestations come from the same source. This source is darkness, darkness within darkness. Everything we judge, the energy for it, good or bad, comes from the same place. So that's what's happening here. The sons of God, there is no God. It's really the God of Spinoza, inverted and turned outward into, anthropomorphized into something that people kind of worship out there as an invisible idol all the time. But yet all the time that template is there that if you knew what to do and you turned it inward, all those pieces translate and they fit up into here. That this whole destruction, the daughters of men that have been corrupted. This is when you're a little kid, you like have trust, joy, fun. Now it's like, I don't trust that. I don't like those people. I've judged them this way. That represents the idea that our inner selves have become corrupted in that hierarchy. The beautiful daughters of men. These are the offspring of what we come with normally. And those have been destroyed. Now we're, angry and upset and hurt, and we go sit in the corner. Maybe we don't act out. Maybe we put on a smiling face all the time. Inside we're screaming and At any rate, that's the idea that the world needs to be destroyed. And then Noah, after the flood, creates a new vineyard. This is creating a new life, has wine from it, drinks, consumes from your new life experience. I've unloaded this. I've changed the effect of this. I am now naked and unashamed. So those all represent the idea that you've gone through a healing. But somebody has to understand what that God is. Why did God disappear? Why does God come back? We get down into chapter 12, it's going to repeat. It's going to be it's going to be much more elaborate though. Up here in the beginning, this is super simple. It's one step. We get down into 12 and it's going to become a really long, drawn-on thing. Adam and Eve, naked, unashamed, in the Garden of Eden as children, represents that. God puts Abram and Sarai in Canaan, the promised land, the good place. But there's a famine. There's nothing there to consume. You're not supposed to consume in Eden. It's replicating the idea that you're starting out in life, but there's nothing to live. You're going to have to go off and live life. Sarai becomes corrupted by Pharaoh, which represents life experiences. They get offspring as a result. You're picking up your anger, your shame. Now they're in the form of servants and animals. You will also notice that God sends plagues. What's plagues? Cyclical pain. There's a cyclical pain component. Remembering that they're using something from the environment. Oh, let's put this in the story. Yeah, when plagues happen, that's a bad thing. And that kind of represents the idea of when something happens in here all the time, it repeats over and over, that's a bad thing too. We're going to use that and create an analog into that. So God sends plagues. What you have is repeating that replicates the pain in childbirth, continual pain in childbirth. So they're rolling along an analogous thing, but they're following a consistent pattern that is a human life pattern. In fact, you would notice that God appears to Noah just before the flood, and then God appears to Abram, creating Abraham. That's the iteration of us now going, okay, I'm now a called person, and we're going to have to go destroy Sodom. Well, after we divide from, you're going to see repeating motifs in there if you just step back and go, they're building it on a framework. What's the framework? What's in common with all of them? Not what's different about them, what's the same? When you're looking at Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden, not supposed to eat. And I misstated that. They could eat anything except for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They weren't supposed to begin judging. Abram and Sarai in Canaan, a pure place, both good places, with nothing to eat. What's the same about those? That's what we're looking for. And they become us, and you realize that's me. That's any of us at childhood, ready to start. And it's weird. It's really hard to unwrap from this. But as you look at that same thing right there, and if you were like to compare it with the Tao, where the Tao, it's got different versions, but there's one that naming is the origin of 10,000 things. It lets you know that this is going to become your bundle of memories right there. What we have in this Abrahamic material is, I will give this land to you and all of your offspring, as many as stars in the sky or sand on the beach or those type of things. That's where that is reoccurring. You got a fresh start. This is going to become your bundle of memories next. And it's going to become this many. And there's going to be, let's see, what else is there? And that, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, that both good and bad are going to come from the same source. Yet mystery and manifestation come from the same source. The source is called darkness. All of those are identical motifs, just in different verbiage for different purposes in the population. The carrier shell is different. The template's the same. The teaching's the same. I just wanted to say that. I know these videos can get long. I think you have to ponder them. You have to think about them. You have to look at that and say, how is this me? And knowing that it's 5,000, 6,000 years ago, I'm not sure this part of Genesis. It's a little shaky. It's got a lot of similarities to the Babylonian creation epic, the Enuma Elish. You'll see Apsu, the creator god, gets trapped away as things go bad. So in the same way, it's not available. However, when Marduk, the called hero, comes back, Marduk is the called hero in the Enuma Elish in the way that Noah is in the first 11 chapters of Genesis. And that is when Marduk recreates Apsu. So it's really the idea, though, that you're at a point in time where you're reconnecting with your higher awareness. That's a necessary component. And from there, you're going to cross a threshold and have to go on an adventure. It gets into something even bigger. But I wanted to show you that right here and just ask you if it makes sense to you. I see this and I see it in other places. It gets thicker. This is a simple place to do it. Adam and Eve, naked, unashamed in the garden. Kids, go off and have first sin. Now we become covered by something. We become divided. We leave the Lord. We go through iterations of ourselves till you go, God, I've got to destroy my world. I'm going to reconnect with my higher awareness, do this, resolve something. Bingo. However, that's so simple. That's how the stories, the myths, and the religious genres of myths. Again, it gets so big knowing, we have to know, though, that they had these memorized. We're having to dig into them in different ways. All right. Hope this was interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. You do have to ponder it. You have to kind of think it through on your own. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. What is that? The Tao that is told is just, we're just throwing nouns and verbs on the table. It's a mental path. We got to make it our own. The eternal Tao is the personal comprehension and interaction with the material so that you know it, I would say, experientially as opposed to simply academically. Anyway, you know what? It's fun puzzles, and I have a lot of time to work at it right now. So there's just patterns that I've been able to establish in ways that I've been able to understand, or at least appear, to look for a similarity. When Zeus creates humans, and humans are primitive, and Zeus wants them to stay primitive. But Prometheus gives them fire so that they can advance. And Zeus doesn't like that, so he takes fire back away. It goes back around. Prometheus gives it a second time, and humans don't stay primitive. Instead, they go off and become humans in life. They advance. And as punishment, Zeus has Prometheus chained to a cliff, and an eagle eats out his liver, and it grows back. And the eagle eats out his liver and it grows back. That's the same as the Adam and Eve story. God wants Adam and Eve to only consume of certain things, to not consume of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Zeus did not want humans to evolve beyond their simple state. That's us right there. However, what happens is you advance anyway. You partake of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You get fire. As a result, you advance. You're kicked out of the Garden of Eden, but what's advancement? Is advancement good? It sounds good, doesn't it? But you look and go, you know what that means? That means going off blind. It's written in a different way. And as a result, pain in childbirth, pain in getting your liver eaten out over and over again. The cyclical pain element is there. You just understand that that's the template right there, but you have to understand that they're concepts, that they're taking that template, that human life template, and then just saying, here, create something that, like in the beginning, they're supposed to remain primitive, but something happens that creates this growth, and then a division occurs, and cyclical pain happens as a result. Just create whatever story you want with those elements in there. Make it into something from your environment. Well, we get plagues. We get something, somehow. Pain in childbirth, all of those. Liver eaten out, boulder rolled up a cliff and comes back down, can never resolve it. All of these become elements that you look at and go, all of those are holding the same idea that there's a cyclical pain. In Greek myth, they're funny like that. Phineas having the harpies defile his food daily. And then what happens? They get pulled away by Zeus and can no longer hurt him anymore. But they don't get killed. The element that is evil gets trapped away in a net or something like that, but is never killed, because that represents the idea that you can't destroy the memory, but you have to trap it so that it renders you've rendered it inert. It can no longer bother you. That means a healing process has taken place. If the evil person has been trapped away after the hero is returned, then that means the memory has been resolved to the point that it's still there, but it doesn't bother, it doesn't act out anymore. A healing has happened. Okay, it gets really weird like that. It's thick, it's old stuff, and you just have to think about it on your own and see if it makes sense. But it takes the right kind of brain to do it, too. There's a certain kind of cognition that takes place. I almost look at it as if this is a gaming platform right here. But you would take the story and memorize it as part of loading the game into the game platform. But in memorizing it, you would have access to layers of things in here that we don't when we have to go look it up. Plato said something to the effect of once books and writing became very prevalent, people's depth of understanding became very shallow as a result. Now, instead of being able to talk about things, do you remember at this part of the story where that happened? Why do you suppose so-and-so did such and such? And they could talk back and forth, where now it's like, well, let me go. What chapter and verse is that? Let me go look it up. We don't have it memorized anymore, so you have to go look it up. We don't know it at the depth that you would they're created at that depth. We don't go to that depth. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say here. All right. Hope this is interesting, and love to hear some feedback. Take care.